What's up, guys? It's Emily NES back again with another video. Today we're talking about the Game Chasers movie, Adventures in Game Chasing. Now, I'm a big fan of the Game Chasers. You can see as in back in the day I got, the first 4 seasons at least. I don't even know if they have done more since seasons on Blu-ray and stuff. Not really as into collecting it lately, but you know, they definitely inspired me, as well as like the AVGN and Pat Country, Pat the NES Punk, to go and do my NES collection and just collect games in general. And you know, about 10 or so years ago, probably a little like probably 11 or 12 years ago, whenever these guys like really first started doing the show, I was a big fan of them. I think I heard about them through the All Gen Gamers podcast there, and there used to be a show called Retro Hunters too, which is where we got the name of Retro Troop from, which is an old fucking series on this channel, which was like a Let's Play series, if you want to go back and watch that. I mean, a couple of those videos are pretty popular, but I don't know, some of them are alright. Mario Party series is the best. Anyway, so let's see. So that's like 2012 or 2012. Whenever those videos were made, we were fans back then because we were making jokes about the Game Chasers and stuff. Anyway, point being, I love the Game Chasers. They've inspired me a lot in my journey of making videos. And, you know, they just gave me a laugh, and there were some really good finds early on. Like, they did the Little Samson, and they got Flintstones for, like, $5 and stuff. And that spirit of going out and finding and really game chasing. And, you know, what's funny is they were inspired themselves by the American Pickers, who live, like, they're just down the way, you know, like 20-30 minutes from here. So, like, that's really cool. Like, you know, they were inspired by people that are close to me, and there was this whole thing, you know, I'm a big fan, obviously, like I said, and you know, they inspired me to go collect myself, and in my 20s, I really took on that as a thing. And I don't really collect video games as much anymore, mostly because I have most of everything I want now, and I'm more into playing video games, and even that is like, you know, it's tricky to play a lot of these games and devote the time to them, although, you know, I have no trouble devoting tens and tens of hours to RuneScape, but here nor there. Point being, these guys, you know, they're kind of idiots sometimes, but they're fun. I like them a lot. They're inspiring. They're funny. It's always a thing. It's one of those channels I always, like, every time there's a new episode of the Game Chasers, I get excited, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, they've been there. They're good people, mostly, and they make quality content. And they're a part of my past, you know, especially a big part of my 20s there. So, you know, a couple years back or whatever, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know, it's been a while now, but whenever they announced that they were going to do a movie, I'm like, wow, okay, so it's like, you know, because like AVGN did the movie, and I funded that and everything. I try to fund these projects where I can, and my old name is in the credits and everything, so, you know, it's right at the top there on the second row, like 6 down from Gerard, who's actually on the bottom, like the completionist or whatever. Anyway, you know, yeah, you can see, I think these ones are signed on the inside, but you can see there, they signed this one, and then this one as well, which is pretty cool. I did back this as a project, the Game Chasers movie, whenever they started that all up. I was really excited whenever they announced it. I didn't really know what to expect. Even going into it now, I had no idea really what to expect. It's them kind of playing themselves as like an origin story to the Game Chasers. A lot of these stories that they've told in the past about how like his Billy's grandpa gave him the NES for Christmas one year, and it's kind of about that, and then they like lose track of it. So the whole thing is they go down on this search to like find this NES again, basically. And there's a lot of references to the Game Chaser legacy in here, you know, like all the characters from the Game Chaser. Dongo's not himself, he plays a guy called the Rat Guy or Rat King or something. Anyway, it was just funny. He's just, you know, but they have a lot of characters that are like people, not characters, the people that show up in the Game Chasers, like Woods in there as a character at some point, and a couple other notable people, like Eric's in there for some reason. Like, he hasn't been in a Game Chasers video in a while, as far as I can remember, and, you know, now he's back in there again. They know they're friends and everything. It's just kind of funny. So to see all these references and stuff is fun, because I am a fan. I've seen every episode of the Game Chasers. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen a lot of them, especially like these early seasons. But if I do go back and watch, it's usually these. Not that the later seasons are bad or anything. It's just they're still producing quality content. It's just like there's a lot of magic in the early days, you know, of the Game Chasers. Much like the AVGN, he still makes great videos, but you know, there's something about the original AVGN videos, like those first 100 videos are just really special, you know? Or HVGN, for that matter, Stop Skeletons from Fighting Now. You know, there's a lot there that's really nice. So anyway, so I backed this movie right away, because I'm big fan of these guys. I even went for a tier that we could go to the premiere of the movie or whatever. I put it in for 3 of us. I knew 2 of my other friends would really want to go. And then the project took a long time to happen. We were just going to make a trip whenever they kind of did it. It was supposed to be in the summer at one point, which would have been not that big of a deal. There was a lot of times where we were going to try to make a trip over to Texas or Arkansas anyway to go to this game store, Game Room Trading Post, but then it closed and then it reopened and whole thing. Anyway, never got around to doing that. That would have been a fun kind of trip. It's one of those we missed out on back then. Anyway, so a couple years later, by the time the premiere had rolled around, COVID hit and all of that. And I you know, it wasn't about that really, but what ended up, it delayed the movie, and then by the time it was ready, it was like 2021 or 2022, like this time of year, like February or something, and it's just like, yeah, this isn't really doable now, so we had to miss that. The whole thing was like, I wanted to meet the Game Chasers, and just there was a, you know, we're supposed to be able to go and do the event together, and then we were all supposed to go out and do dinner or something, and I assume all of that happened without me and my friends, but it just kind of sucks. I did pay for that tier, but you know, the world has ways of making stuff like that not work. Anyway, so, but you know, I still wanted to watch the movie, and I waited a long time for it to come in, and gosh, it was only a couple months ago. It was like later last year, whenever it did finally get here on Blu-ray and stuff, long after it had premiered and stuff. It might have been last year. No, well, no, I'm sure it was at least 2021 or 2022 whenever that happened, like early on. Pretty sure. Anyway, so I did finally get it. I watched the movie now. Kind of forgot about it for a minute. And I was looking through my stack of games over there. I was gonna do Life is Strange True Colors finally. So I was looking for that, and then I'm like, oh yeah, the Game Chasers movie that I never fucking watched. Oh, actually, yeah, So this is also signed by the Game Chasers, which is pretty cool. And, you know, they always do really quality stuff, for sure. I like all of their Blu-rays and stuff, and they have, you know, the movie there, and then they've got a bunch of extras. They always do a bunch of extras, and I really, I value that. I haven't looked at the extras yet. I just wanted to watch the movie and review that, but, so, yeah, the movie is just like this big road trip movie about them going and trying to find this NES. First they go to Chris, their cousin, you know, who's like in the newer episodes and stuff. And there's like this whole thing about conspiracies and stuff too. Of course it wouldn't be Game Chasers if it wasn't like aliens and the paranormal and Shadow Men and stuff. So there's a lot of that. There's also a lot about, there's the kind of the heart of the movie is like Billy trying to, you know, reconnect with this old stuff. He's kind of the skeptic the whole time. He for a second there he gets really into it, and then he kind of turns away from it again as it goes along. And there was this whole thing with like his grandpa would always tell him on these old hard games like never give up, and like this is the reason he knew it was his NES, because like on the bottom there's like tallies of like how many games he beat and stuff, which is pretty cool. You know, like all really cool and interesting stuff, and I do appreciate that. You know, a lot of cool little things like that. But the movie is also about being a nerd. You know, there's a whole second like part, like a B-side story, a B story or whatever, about them like trying to help these people save this building, which ends up being the Jar Nintendo building, which is the building that the that is NES is at. It's like this whole friggin' like thing, you know, like they even meet the guy Jar, and he's like this crazy guy. There's like a flashback with him like in Chris, like his son NES to him. But this whole thing about Action 52, like he's trying to sell him Action 52. He sells that to everyone for some reason. I don't know if he's like legitimately a fan, or it's just because it's an expensive game, like, you know, to sell. I'm sure it was that part. But, yeah. So I don't know, it's just funny. You know, there's a lot of references to Game Chaser stuff. I don't know if, like, somebody who doesn't know the Game Chasers would, like, appreciate it as much, but, you know, it's definitely cool. I mean, I know everyone hates the AVGN movie, but, like, I really enjoyed that. It's not quite to that production level of, like, there's all these cool, like, effects and stuff, but it's kind of a similar thing. They did do a really big budget, like, not, like, big budget, but, like, for this kind of film, like, fight, like, a dog fight with, like Star Wars level at the beginning, like, in space and stuff. It was kind of cool. But if you're a fan of the Game Chasers, it's kind of, and especially if you've like listened to some of their content, them talking about the past and stuff, like a lot of these stories are what they're portraying here. It's like a prequel basically to the Game Chasers, you know. That's kind of what the story is, and I just think that's really cool, and it works well as like a narrative. I didn't know what to expect from this movie, like what the plot was or anything, or if there's like, if it was just them going out and game chasing, or like maybe it was the quest for some really rare game or something, you know, like I don't know. What do you expect, right? It's adventures in game chasing. It's like adventures in babysitting. It was like, I don't know. Anyway, so it's like, what does that mean, right? But it turns out it's kind of a personal origin story about them and going to find this NES and whatever. Because that's like, I think it's in the first episode of the show, actually, and it kind of makes me want to go back and watch the show now, because like I know especially some of those early seasons are really crazy with their finds and stuff, and it's nostalgic to see, because even at the time, like even 10 years ago, it was cool to see, but like, you know, it's changed so much. Like, I don't want to say that we were, like, lucky and the games cost less and stuff. They did, certainly, but it was at a time where you could still collect NES. I sound like the fogies. I sound like those people like Pat, where it was like, back in the 90s, they were worth like 5 cents a piece, and you could actually still collect these things. That's me now. You know, back in like 2013, you could still collect video games, especially NES and... yeah, shit, at that point, like, N64 and GameCube hadn't really blown up yet. They were just on the precipice of blowing up, so, like, you could still collect that stuff without it being, like, incredibly expensive, or you could still find good deals on it, and, I feel like a lot of that's gone now, so, yeah, you know, we live in a different time, and so it's nostalgic to see them going through places, you know, and game chasing back in the 2010s, we'll call it now. I know it wasn't that long ago. I mean, well, shit, I say that, but it was like 10 years ago, you know. 10 plus years ago now, so I got a lot of nostalgic for the Game Chasers. I really love them. I thought the movie was good. It's very them, you know. It feels like what a Game Chasers movie origin story would feel like, and I think that's cool. I think they did a good job for what it is, you know. I've got a lot of respect for those guys. I mean, I know they're just trying to be silly and go out and look for games and stuff, but at the same time, I think they do a really good job, you know. James Rolfe too, and you know, like Derek Stop Skeletons from Fighting. I mean, his channel's a little bit more not serious, but like he does do a lot of like analysis of the past and stuff, and history of game stuff, and weird obscure little consoles and peripherals and stuff. So like, but you know, he's still silly at the same time. But all that stuff just means something to me, you know, and especially being as into video games as I am, or, you know, I mean, I still love video games, obviously. I play a lot of, well, I'd like to play more games than I do, but it's still a big part of my life. I still have this channel, you know, I still try to make time for it and whatnot. It gets more tricky as it goes along, but, I think that's part of what the movie is kind of about, too, is latching on to that piece of the past and just embracing your nostalgia a little bit, you know? I mean, I know that's such a corporatized thing now, embracing nostalgia, but it's like, yeah, like 10 or so years ago, it really wasn't as much of a thing, and so, you know, it's a look into a time like that, you know, so, it's just a nice movie, and especially for the fans of the series, and I'm glad they got it made, because, you know, it seemed like that was really something he wanted to do, and, whatnot, Billy, and, apparently he sold a bunch of his games to make it happen, so, good for him for putting on the line, you know, stuff that was worth something, to do something that was worth something to him, you know, that could, that he could look back on and feel accomplished or whatnot, you know, so. It's not easy to make a movie. I tried, and that was even just a shitty fan movie at the time, but, I've got a lot of respect for people who can do stuff like that, so. But yeah, it was good. I don't know. It's worth watching if you can get your hands on it or see it somehow. I don't know if it's like streaming someplace or something, but especially if you're a fan of the Game Chasers, I definitely think it's worth owning. So yeah, and you know, go check out their older content too. Sometimes they say some stupid things or some dated things or something, but you know, they're not afraid to tell it like it is, I guess. or their opinion of how it is, you know, so I guess to a certain extent that's respectable as well, so. Yeah. Not that they'll ever see this, but good job, guys, Billy and Jay, and sorry I couldn't make it to the premiere, you know, or whatnot. We all kind of missed out there, honestly. But go check it out. Adventures in Game Chasing. Yep, I'm gonna give it like a 8.8 out of 10. Till next time, this has been MENES saying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and movies. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily, out.